Ask Chris Hetherington what he learned from his 11 years in the NFL playing fullback for teams like the Bengals, the Colts, and the 49ers, and he will tell you he learned to be a pro, be accountable, to keep his word, and the importance of getting a good education. After smashing wedges on the gridiron, he took those lessons learned and then went on to have a career as a CEO in financial services. And now today, he is the founder and CEO of Peels CBD, a CBD product line formulated from orange peels, which is on the road to becoming a major disruptive force in the CBD product market. Along his unpredictable path, he discovered the Stoics, yoga, and meditation. And now this elite athlete who once crushed it on the football field is now meditating twice a day and learning to breathe through life as opposed to making things happen through brute force. Chris lives life with physical and mental discipline, a commitment to team, and being a man of his word. And above all, loving his family. He calls his mom his hero. And being a responsible parent. That is what makes you a good person. Hello, and welcome to a new season of At the Podium with me, Patrick Huey. At the Podium is a multimedia platform that brings together people from a diverse background of lives, careers, and experiences who all share one thing in common. They have stepped fully into the transformative power of finding and raising their voices to make an impact on our world today. At the Podium holds a space for everyone to tell their stories, to be heard, and to bring us inspiration. Today, I'm thrilled to share the podium with Chris Hetherington. Chris Hetherington's diverse background includes earning a BS in psychology from Yale University, playing fullback in the National Football League for 11 years, attending the business management and entrepreneurship programs at Harvard Business School and Wharton School of Business, and achieving success as an experienced executive, board member, entrepreneur, consultant, and investor. Chris is an inspirational leader who is motivated by internal standards of excellence to overachieve expectations and exceed all set goals, stemming from his experience as a professional athlete. Chris is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Peels, a revolutionary CBD company whose CBD is made from orange peels. Peels CBD products provide all the amazing benefits without hemp, cannabis, or THC. Peels CBD is certified pesticide-free from Clean Label Project and received Clean Label Project's Purity Award in 2021. Chris was previously managing director at Evolution Financial Group, a global investment firm which specializes in debt and equity finance, debt servicing, and private equity and venture capital investments. Chris is an avid golfer with a +2 handicap and is the current club champion at Lakeside Golf Club in Burbank, California. He is also a health, wellness, and fitness enthusiast and influencer. His daily workout regime includes lifting weights, yoga, boxing, and hiking. Chris meditates twice a day and practices Stoicism. Chris grew up in Connecticut. He is married and has 2 sons, Jack, 8, and Cole, 3. Okay, Chris, welcome to At the Podium.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive in here. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you reached out to me, because you're a fellow Yalie, but also you are putting your toe into the world of spa products.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, we're well aware of what we're getting into, but we're confident as a brand and we got a great team behind us and great products. So we're excited to dive into that world and a little different world for me.
Yes.
I've been in health and wellness and obviously been obsessed with optimizing my health and performance, since my days as a professional athlete. But it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but we got a great opportunity and we're really proud of where the brand's going.
I think it's always interesting when new people come into the spa industry because I think many people have this idea that it's all just soft music and really pretty scents roaming through a hallway and waterfalls and water fountains. But it's actually really, really hard work to bring a product from conception in your mind to bringing it over the line to when a consumer or a guest is holding it in their hands. It's quite a bit of work.
It is a lot of work. You gotta really see what's out there. I mean, data has to be the driver of every decision you make, right? You got to be a customer centric brand. What are consumers looking for? How are they looking for it? Where are they looking for it? And that's been a big part of our strategy. Yeah, it's a lot of work. We're very proud of our kind of mission here. Like I said earlier, we are providing better for you solutions. And there's a lot that goes into the consumer experience, the unboxing, the taste, the smell, the effectiveness, et cetera. And then, CBD is a little bit of a different animal, right? There's regulations and stuff like that. You really got to be smart and disciplined about how you make decisions. And again, have the consumer in mind with every decision you make.
So what I thought was interesting about the product, as you describe it, is that you're using orange peels in this process, which I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing.
Yeah, so we have a partnership with a biotech firm called Pureform Global, and Pureform Global is a leader in developing cannabinoids not from hemp or cannabis. So they have a proprietary process called cyclic terpene assembly, and what that is, Patrick, is you basically take the terpenes and citrus peels and you combine them with xylitol under heat and pressure in the presence of a catalyst. And what comes out on the other end is pure crystalline CBD that is unmatched in purity, consistency, and they're able to produce this at scale. And the interesting thing is it's molecularly identical to hemp or cannabis-derived CBD. So it's the same molecule, but a lot safer. Like I said, a lot more pure. It's the purest form of the molecule. And for us to have the ability to guarantee no THC is ever present in the process is pretty big. There's a lot of brands out there that say 0% THC, but through the traditional extraction methods, it's almost impossible to remove all trace amounts of CBD. So, I'm sure we'll get into it, but that comes in mind with our target demographic or total addressable market. 60% of the workforce has some kind of drug screening and can't take CBD, or, people like my mom who's 80 years old who there's a negative sentiment around weed or cannabis or THC or marijuana. And she thought she was going to get high from rubbing CBD cream on her knee. Right. So there's a lot of consumer education that goes into it, but, we're really proud of, us entering this CBD space. And again, building a really trusted brand, being completely transparent with our information, having third-party accredited lab testing, COAs on our website of our products. Like, we're going to do what we say and say what we do, right? And so It's important for us to lead the category, not only in supremely pure and safe products, but also, we're trying to make an impact on people's lives and trying to, we're in the business of serving other people. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been, challenging during COVID, and we've had to make some decisions and pivot. And but we have a really great opportunity, and we got a really good core team in place and got some great investors and, talking to retailers all day long. And the fun thing is, this solves a lot of the concerns not only consumers have, but retailers have, right? We're talking to these retailers all day long, and obviously CBD has a lot of potential, but with the other brands, it's tough for them to get on board due to the kind of uncertainty around regulation, if you will.
Something you said that I thought was really interesting is that it does sort of open up the benefits of CBD to people who, for whatever reason, may be opposed to a more traditional route of how people usually harvest, grow, develop, bring to market CBD products, which I think is an interesting positioning.
Yeah. Making CBD accessible to more people and the health benefits of CBD. It's an amazing molecule. It's an amazing cannabinoid. And so, we're excited about the future.
Yeah. So we are talking about what you're doing today, but you've had many iterations of a life, which I think is brilliant. But I wanted to talk to you about football because I think football really helped establish you in the world. You were a quarterback at Yale back in the 90s, and then you played for 11 years for various teams professionally as a fullback, which I had to look up what a fullback was because I don't play football. But I was like, is he running or is he throwing or is he catching? Yeah. But I was curious because there's been so much talk recently about college athletics and should players be able to benefit from being in college from financially. And recently, the NCAA actually came out and said that players could earn money from use of their likeness, their image, their names. What is your perspective on that? I'm just curious.
It's an interesting topic. I think there's a lot of pros with the NIL, the presence of NIL. And I think there's some cons, right? The unfortunate thing is, statistically speaking, Patrick, the chance of a high school or college player going pro is very small. And although I think it's a good opportunity, and I'm not against college athletes being paid because, look, same with the pros. I mean, they're the assets, right? They're the ones that are filling seats and making money for the universities, and the head coaches are being paid millions and millions of dollars. But also, look, I went to college to get a great education. I was lucky enough to be able to play professionally for a long time, but I went to Yale because I knew I was going to get a good education, and I took advantage of that. And that helped me with my transition after professional football, where I had, skill sets that translate into the business world. But it's a slippery slope. The NIL laws vary from state to state. I read these articles about boosters, taking advantage of these young kids, and look, I'm not against players getting paid, but I think they should focus as well on getting a good education and graduating from their universities, because the chances, I'll speak of the NFL in particular, the chances of making the NFL are very small. The average career in the NFL is probably 3 years or less. And so it's important that these young men and women get a good education and build skill sets. Now, since they're getting paid, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? Hopefully they learn how to manage their money. They're going to have to pay taxes and stuff like that. So I think there's some benefits. I want young women and young men that are at the collegiate level and even the high school level to focus on their education as well, because that's going to benefit them for the long term.
It seems to be a very interesting time in sports in general, but I feel like, particularly in football, I feel like it's struggling a little bit. I mean, if you look at the sort of popularity of the game, it's still quite strong. But I was reading an article because I was going to talk to you, and I knew this. It was in Forbes, and they were talking about some really interesting numbers. For instance, and I'm going to read them just to make sure I get them right. They said that youth participation between ages 6 and 12 is down 32% from its peak in 2008. High school participation is down 10% from its peak in 2009, except for the SEC, where the numbers are going up, which is probably not that surprising. College game attendance down 5%. NFL Super Bowl viewers down almost 25% from 2011, which was its peak. But it's interesting to note that the numbers are going up in terms of viewers, but as a percentage of the overall population, the numbers are going down. And then you have TV shows like Blackish, top TV show, basically coming out against football because of concussion injuries, long-term disability, and things like that. Do you think the sport is viable past the sort of moment we're in now?
I think it's an interesting time for football and even collision sports in general, right? I'll give you an example. When I played in the NFL, I was running down on kickoff and running 70 yards and blowing up wedges and, getting knocked out or knocking people out. And there really wasn't a concussion protocol back in the day. I probably got asked 2 questions in my whole career. What day of the week is it and how many fingers do I have up? So, it's a collision sport, right? And now we're doing the research and becoming more aware of the head injuries and CTE and the long-term health consequences of playing not only football, but collision sports in general, right? There's a lot of concussions in soccer, hockey, lacrosse, et cetera. I think the NFL has done a better job of protecting the players. If you can protect the players, you're going to hopefully protect the game. There's been a lot of rule changes. The kicking game has been somewhat de-emphasized. They're really trying to protect quarterbacks. They're trying to protect receivers from getting hit when they're unprotected. But it'd be interesting to see how it plays out over the next several years. I think the Ivy League was, I think, one of the leaders in limiting the amount of hitting that goes on in practice. And I assume I'm right with this by saying there's a lot more injuries in practice than in games, right? So if you can limit the amount of contact in practices, that's a good start. Making these rule changes are a great idea to protect the players. And then, the equipment, right? They're always trying to improve the equipment. I mean, when I played, believe it or not, I didn't wear a mouthpiece for 11 years, which is reckless. If I can go back in time, I wouldn't do that, but I just couldn't breathe well with them. But the helmets are more protective. They're lighter. They're more aerodynamic. The shoulder pads, et cetera. So football is a great game. It's still the number one participation sport in high school at the high school level. The discipline that goes into being able to compete, the physicality of it. In my opinion, it's the ultimate team sport. And I had a great experience in my 11 years in the NFL. And luckily, I learned from older players that I respected how to be a good pro and how to take care of your body, how to improve your football IQ. And really, that's the way I survived for 11 years. I was obsessed with taking care of my body. But it's a collision sport, man. It's dangerous. Yeah. And, I'm sure you're going to ask me about my kids and my kids athletes. Look, I grew up and I'm saying this in a humble way. I was blessed to be a natural athlete and had natural athleticism, but I was also obsessed with it. I was the kid my mom had to scream at me to come in for dinner because I was shooting hockey pucks or shooting baskets or playing baseball or, whatever. And, I was obsessed with sports, but I was equally obsessed with academics. And my brother was a great role model. My brother's 10 years older, went to Princeton and played football. And, every young kid wants to be like their brother, especially if he's a great role model. So that had a positive impact on my life. Like I said, I was lucky enough to play in the NFL for a long time and the sport was very good to me. And it's hard for me to say no to my kids because I had a great experience. But at the same time, it's my job as a parent to make sure, my kids are as safe as possible. I mean, in an ideal world, I would love for my kids not to play tackle football until high school. My son Jax just turned 8 yesterday, and he's in 2 flag football leagues, and he plays soccer, he plays basketball, he plays hockey. He's into every sport, and I think that's healthy. I think looking at some of these leagues that my kids play in, these parents, they're a little bit crazy, and they put a lot of pressure on these kids and they get them hyper focused on one sport. And again, my message to them is like, look, these kids are 7 and 8. The stakes aren't very high. You want this to be a healthy experience. And I think there's a lot of benefits from playing multiple sports,
You played 3, didn't you? You were baseball.
I played football, hockey, and baseball in college. I played football and baseball at Yale. Hockey was my best sport as a kid, and I went to this big prep school in Connecticut called Avon Farms, and just decided to focus on football and baseball. But again, I went to school for academics, and so yeah. I mean, in summary, football is great to me. It's hard for me to say to my kids, but like every parent out there, you want to make sure your kid's safe. And I think the coaches and the leagues and the organizations are doing a better job of protecting these young kids.
You said something interesting, which was that, kids are 7 or 8 and the stakes aren't very high. But then I think about the kids who are looking at football or sports or basketball or any sports as a way out, as a way up, and the stakes become very high. And how do you balance that the idea of stakes versus the results versus the risk that are inherent in some of these sports, when the real needs are to uplift yourself, your family, et cetera, out of what can be really dire circumstances?
Man, it's a great question. In my opinion, I think it's the job of the parents and the coaches and the leaders of these various leagues and teams to make it as healthy of an experience as possible. And look, there's a lot of kids out there where this is their shot to get out of the circumstances that they're in or their families in. And I respect that. But at the same time, you still want kids to be kids and be well-rounded young men and young women. And the focus should be as much on academics as athletics. And so it's a complicated question, but I think you look into these NIL deals, right, with the boosters and stuff, they're taking advantage of these kids and, for the benefit of these universities. And you got to keep these kids' futures in mind. And so, yeah, I mean, my message to these parents and my son's leagues are, look, the stakes aren't very high. But to your point, for some kids that are in these different circumstances, they are a little higher. But you still have to do a job as the parent or the adult to be healthy about these decisions that you're making for these young men and women.
I was surprised when my youngest brother, who is in college now, was about a sophomore in high school, and the universities started showing up. And I thought it was really early.
Yeah.
You're 16, 15, and they're asking you to make decisions about your life that have real consequences.
Yeah.
I got to see a little bit of that close up. And I was just surprised by the level of professionalizing it in terms of recruitment that was going on at such a young age, really great schools. So it wasn't about a poor education, for him at least, but I was just surprised that it was so young.
Yeah, I mean, I hear these stories too, right? I mean, the kids in grade school getting recruited, young phenoms in basketball or football, signing letters of intent to go to colleges. I mean, God, when I was 13 and 14, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I know I was luckily a good athlete and a good student, but the reality is, Patrick, sports have become a big business, and that's the dangerous part of it. And unfortunately, like I said, the stats don't lie. I mean, the chances of a young man or woman playing professionally in any sport is very, very low. There's 2,000 NFL players in the world, right? So it's not many compared to how many kids play football at the high school and collegiate level. And like I said, it's become such a big business, and TV deals and endorsements and stuff like that. And so it's a slippery slope. I think the long term decisions need to be made factoring in long term for these young men and women, and it's almost a case by case basis, but it's tough.
I mean, if you think about it, you hope that with this new sort of way forward in terms of people being able to profit from their face or their name or their number, you hope that there's sort of a requirement for financial literacy classes to go with that. And also, agents and managers start showing up, and then that complicates the stew even more.
Yeah, it's hard. And, I saw this in my time in the NFL when young men all of a sudden come into a bunch of money when they have no experience, managing money, and unfortunately sometimes surround themselves with people that are trying to take advantage of them. And that back in the day, I saw it firsthand, agents and financial advisors and family with handouts and stuff. And so if, they can set up a program or a process where you can teach these young men and women financial literacy and general life skills, balancing a checkbook. And, I took my son, Jack, who was, I think, 6 at the time, I took him down to Bank of America to get a checking account. He's getting some cash from his grandparents and stuff. I said, look, let's learn about money. Let's get you an ATM card so you value money in a different way. And, I wish more parents did that. And certainly, at the collegiate level, you would hope that they start to learn about financial literacy, and you would hope that people around them will respect, like, look, this is this young man or woman's money and they earned it. You got to do everything you can to protect it because it's not going to last for a long time. And see these young players when I played in the NFL, and it's hard to get caught up, and like I said, you come into a bunch of money, millions of dollars, and you buy a house for your mom and you buy a car and this and that, and buy some jewelry. It can go fast, and everybody comes into the league thinking they're going to play 10 years, but that's just not a reality.
You speak very positively and highly about the NFL and about your football and sports experience. What did you learn from that? What did you learn from playing at that highly elite level of professional sports?
Most importantly, I learned how to be a professional. I learned how to go about my daily life being a pro. And when you're a professional athlete, your body and your mind makes you a living. And so I learned early on that, I got to take care of my body and I got to take care of my mind. And so I've even been more obsessed with that, since I retired, because look, I played 26 years of tackle football, and I've had my fair share of injuries and pain and inflammation and sleep issues. And look, again, playing 26 years, that's a lot of hits to the head. And so luckily I've always had a very quantitative job, and I've always, done these little brain games and, neurofeedback and stuff like that. It's a difficult thing, but again, I think first and foremost, I learned how to be a pro, and I tried to carry that into my professional life of being accountable. I was always accountable to my teammates. I always did whatever I could to be on that field because my teammates are counting on me and relying on me. And the same thing in my business life with Peels. I try to be a great teammate. I try to lead by example, try to be a positive influence. And hopefully that spreads. And look, we got a great staff and good team members, but that goes a long way. If you do what you say you're going to do, that's important. And I try to do that with my kids as well. I try to be a positive influence on them. I try to teach them how to be healthy and how to be active and not be on an iPad all day long or play video games all day long. I never played video games when I was a kid, but it's become, very popular. It's addictive, right? So in summary, it's just learning how to be a pro in your daily life and learning to be a good person and be accountable.
I always think when you see a person who really performs at that kind of level, that there is a lot of an ability or a skill to focus and control the mind, to overcome either a physical obstacle or a hurdle or physical pain, if you're talking about a tackle sport.
Yeah. Tell you what, meditation and yoga really changed my life. Unfortunately, I didn't discover it until after I retired, but yoga and meditation had such an impact on my life, to breathe, to worry about what you can control and not worry about what you can't control. I'm a big fan of Stoicism. That's their kind of main message. Worry about what you can control. That's helped me with everything in life, with my marriage, with time with my kids, with my job, talking to investors or talking to vendors. It's just, having the ability to breathe and not try to muscle through everything, to react quickly when you can take a step back. Somebody says something negative, just kind of take a step back, breathe, and have a calculated, thoughtful answer to that, whether it's positive or negative. Yeah, meditation is huge. I do it every day, twice a day for 20 minutes each session. And it's changed my life. I was always the guy that muscled through everything. And I played fullback. It was basically like a glorified offensive lineman in the backfield. My job was to hit people. My life after football, it's meditation. It's controlling what I can control. And there's stuff thrown at you all day, every day, right? Your kids have challenges and adversity, or, my wife runs a business and she's really busy. And then, professionally, like, look, we're in a space that, we're trying to really make a positive impact. Being able to be thoughtful in decisions is huge.
Looking at your history, it's such an unusual journey from a very high collegiate sports career to a career in the NFL, which is, as you said, it's the premier sport to play next probably to basketball and baseball. And soccer. And also you move from there into financial services, which is a whole other world unto itself. And now you're here in the product development, spa product world, CBD world. How did that journey unfold? It's so unexpected.
Like I said, I went to Yale. A lot of my buddies went to Wall Street, right? There's a big pipeline from Ivy League schools or, big universities to Wall Street and financial services. My brother has been a financial advisor since 1986 for Merrill Lynch. And so I would say that, that was probably the expected path, but it was good, right? Towards the end of my career, I did the executive programs at Harvard and Wharton. I've been out of school for 11 years and wanted to get back into it and really figure out what I wanted to do. And I was very interested in the finance world, but there's a lot of verticals within the finance world. And so, you hear about this transition from being a pro athlete to the real world, and it's difficult. I don't care how much money you made or how much fame you had or didn't have or how long you played. It's hard because your dream as a little kid is to play professional sports, and you spend all your time and hopefully not your money maintaining at that level. And then when it's gone, you're like, oh man, what am I going to do next? And, I feel fortunate that I had other skill sets and I wanted to use my brain in other ways. And, I was very blessed to be able to transition into a company that were like-minded individuals. I joined a hedge fund in 2008 who was started by a gentleman I played football against. He went to Princeton and hired a lot of athletes that were kind of this work hard, play hard type people, but very smart and driven and hardworking. And so I kind of transitioned to a different locker room. Some guys, struggle and they think that their identity is only as an athlete, but the thing that made them a good athlete, the work ethic, the discipline, the stuff like that, can translate into other things. You just got to figure out what that is. And then, look, health and wellness has always been a passion of mine. I've been obsessed with it for a long time. And so I got to a point in my life where, I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to be in health and wellness. I wanted to help people. And I was fortunate to find a product and more importantly, an ingredient that can really help people in a positive way. And so I've been very passionate about it. And I think we have a really great opportunity. And more importantly, it's aligned with my passion to help people, which is great.
I was thinking to myself when I was talking to your team earlier, I was like, what's motivating him to do this? It's a saturated market. There are many pretenders out there, but there are also really great brands out there. And I was like, why specifically CBD when there are other gaps in product mixes and product lines that might be an easier journey? So why CBD?
CBD has been my holy grail. Unfortunately, during my time in the NFL, I had a lot of injuries and played through a lot of pain. And they were very loose, if you will, about handing out pain meds and sleep meds. And they're bad for you, and they have long-term consequences and they're very addictive. And so CBD has really helped me in a positive way. More specifically, citrus-derived CBD, like peels, has helped me and has been my holy grail. And so that's our mission. Our mission is to take this unbelievable cannabinoid and make it accessible to more people. And look, there are a lot of brands out there, but we want to be the leader. We want to provide the safest, most effective products. We want to, again, make data-driven decisions on what products we bring to market and why, narrow in and kind of hone in on who our tribe is and how we get to them, right, through various marketing and advertising techniques, and et cetera. But we have something that no one else has, right? There's a lot of CBD brands out there, but not a lot of CBD brands like us, right? Like I said, it's the purest form of the molecule, and there's no risk of failing a drug test. There's no risk of having pesticides or toxins or class 1 or 2 solvents. And a big part of our messaging going forward is sustainability, right? Like, to produce 1 kilo of citrus-derived CBD is drastically less amounts of water, CO2, power, et cetera. So there's great messages there as well, right? So we're a very transparent brand. We have great co-manufacturing partners. We have great R&D teams. It's very important for us to build a very special brand and put it in people's hands that really need it and make it accessible to more people.
I wonder how much education you're going to have to do, because I would imagine most consumers think that CBD can only come from hemp.
Yeah, there's a ton of education, right? Like, when I first learned about it, I'm like, how the heck do you get CBD from orange peels? And then I tried the product and I was blown away, right? Both by the effectiveness of it and two, the taste, right? We came out with our oil initially. That was our first product to market. And I probably tried, Patrick, 50 brands of CBD oil. No matter what they do, they can't mask that taste, that hemp or marijuana aftertaste. So ours tastes like an orange creamsicle. It's epic, and then everything we do, every product we bring to market, we're going to try to be on brand. Our immunity shots taste like an orange creamsicle. Our CBD gummies taste like an orange creamsicle. They're not these sugary gummies that are out there. And we're very focused on quality and purity and consumer experience. So, technically it is a crowded market, but we're different, and we're going to ride that for a long time.
Who I have so many questions. Where does this come from within you? This ability to shift, to stay on your center? I mean, I'm sure yoga and stoicism help drive that and nurture that within you, but who influenced you?
I had a lot of positive influences in my life. My dad was a very good influence in my life. He was a hardworking man, had multiple jobs. My brother was had a very positive impact in my life. My sister's a great person. She had an impact. My mom is my hero. My mom's a really great woman. But I've also been a self-motivator. I'm a disciplined, passionate guy. That's really helped me. And when you're going through career changes, you got to rely on those traits, if you will, of passion and discipline and hard work and making sacrifices on a daily basis. And people ask me all day, like, how do you wake up at 5 o'clock every day? Like, it's not an option for me. Like, when that alarm goes off, I'm getting up. Like, I've already made the decision, and I jump in the cold plunge and I do, jump in my sauna and I meditate for 20 minutes because that makes me a better person. It makes me, a better performer. It makes me a better dad, a better husband. Taking care of my body and taking care of my mind is very important. I try to be a positive influence, like I said earlier, about with my kids and my friends and people around me, and be of service to other people, and hopefully make a positive impact on other people. And look, I'm humble and smart enough to really seek out other people that can add value to my life. Again, I'm a huge fan of Stoicism because that's who I want to be, and I've luckily figured that out. I'm not perfect, but I try to make a lot more good decisions on a daily basis than bad decisions, and try to still live my life and not, ever eat a carb for the next 20 years, right? But and I don't want my kid to not be a kid and never have birthday cake, but look, you got to teach your kid, look, what you put in your body matters. And,
Mm.
if you want to be healthy and live a long time, you got to take care of yourself. And, I was a CEO of a company called Resilience Code in Denver, Colorado. And what I learned quickly was that people only go to the doctor when they're sick, right? And
Right.
people aren't proactive with their health. They're more reactive with their health. And so getting people to understand that, look, you should get blood work done, at least once or twice a year, and got to pay attention to what you put in your body, and you got to move every day. If you don't move it, you lose it. You don't have to run a marathon, but you got to move your body. The more you take care of your body, the more you take care of your mind, the better off you're going to be.
Talking to you today, it's so distilled and clear and simple, but living in it, it doesn't always feel that way. These principles that you're talking about, how have you been able to distill it so cleanly and so purely for yourself?
Life is not easy, and there's a lot of challenges that go into people's lives. I don't care what circumstances you're living in. Life is hard. If you look at the media and politics, people thrive on negativity, and I try to thrive on positivity. My wife, busts my chops all the time. She's like, "Oh, all you want to hear is positive stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, why would I read the news and watch the news every day, or read this, read Twitter with all this negativity in the world?" And again, there's so much adversity in life, but if you're conscious to be centered and most importantly, be a good person and try to make a lot more good decisions than bad, then you're giving yourself the best chance. And again, dude, I'm not perfect,
Yeah.
but again, I'm a very passionate guy. Things are very important to me, and that's how I want to live my life. But again, it's hard to wake up at 5 o'clock every day, no matter what you did the night before. But again, I've made that decision already, and it's not an option. Your mind's a powerful thing, right? You got this little dude on his shoulder saying, "Oh, you should sleep in another hour. You deserve it." Or it's like, no, dude, I'm getting up because that's what I want to do, and that's what I should do.
This season on the show, we're talking about people who found their voice, and you've clearly found your voice and your passion. What do you want us to leave with today?
I'm always seeking ways to make myself better. It's interesting in the world we live in. There's the access to information is so good, right? You can go online and research anything. So I'm always trying to find ways to make myself better. But my overall voice is to be a positive impact in the people around me, and always find ways for people to make positive impacts on my life. I have friends that I've been friends with since I was a little kid, because that's important to me. Friends and family are really important to me. And so as a company with Peels, we're on a mission to be a mission-driven business, to align ourselves with, the military and first responders and the amazing people out there. Like, we want to help everybody, and so it's tough. I mean, again, life is hard, but it's waking up every day and being committed to the person you want to be. And there's always people trying to bring you down, right?
Mm, yeah.
Again, people thrive on negativity, and we got all these crazy reality shows, and the news every day is just so negative. But if people focused on making themselves better every day and try to make people around them better every day, I think we'd be in a better spot.
Mm. Who is your favorite team? The 49ers that you played on?
It's funny. I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up a Giant fan because my dad and my my brother were Giant fans. But I root for every team I played for. I'm very grateful for the time I spent with every organization, and I feel very lucky that I had that experience. And so I really root for every team. We lived in Los Angeles, and I played for the Rams for 1 year, and we were in St. Louis. But it's fun taking my kids to the games and being a fan. And one thing I wish I had a family when I played, because it would have been great to share that experience to my family. I probably wasn't ready to be married at the time and have kids, but that would have been fun. But yeah, it's fun rooting for all these teams, and I'm just a sport fan in general, right? And I try to expose my kid to every sport and have him, be healthy about the process and get him to enjoy every sport, and then he's going to figure out himself what he wants to do if he wants to play, high school sports or college sports. And the biggest rewarding thing for my wife and I, my kid's equally as creative as he is athletic, so that's really fun for me to watch my kid do crafts and be creative and painting and all this stuff. Like, I didn't have any of that when I was a kid. I had no creativity whatsoever. So he gets it from my wife and his mom, but it's fun.
Chris, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I completely appreciate it. I think you're the first professional football player I've spoken to. So this has been a very different interview. I love it. I love
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. It was really a pleasure to be here and great to get to know you better. And hopefully we'll keep in touch in the future and do it again.
We will. Thank you. And to those of you who are watching or listening, remember, we all have a voice. Use yours wisely. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Patrick.